At the beginning of the story, we're shown a scene from 3 years ago. There are some people inside a ship on an island. There is fighting going on a mountain in front of them. They tell the ship's captain that they should help them, to which he refuses, saying that fighting with those monsters is not so easy, and only hunters can defeat them. Jin-Woo, once considered the weakest hunter globally, undergoes a transformation after a harrowing experience in a maze, becoming unexpectedly strong. Mysterious portals begin appearing, releasing formidable creatures immune to conventional weapons. Some individuals, known as the Pursuers, acquire special powers, determining their hunting prowess. The story jumps into the present, and we see Kim, an experienced hunter, met Park, who reveals his impending fatherhood, motivating Kim to explore dungeons for financial gain. They notice Jin-Woo, once overlooked, but now recognized for his newfound strength. Jin-Woo's injuries from a low-level dungeon prompt reflection on the importance of healers. Despite having strong friends, Jin-Woo feels burdened by his perceived weakness. Chi-Yul, the leader, calls for a meeting, generating excitement among the group to collaborate with a skilled hunter. Kim warns Jin-Woo to be cautious as they prepare to enter a portal, mindful of the risk of injury. Jin-Woo, armed with a basic sword due to financial constraints, remains determined as he enters. They meet Chairman Gun-hee, who explains how hunters earn money by selling essence stones acquired from defeating monsters, valuable for crafting powerful gear. Jin-Woo obtains his first essence stone, but encounters a goblin, resulting in injury when his sword breaks. Park saves him, and Jo-hee treats his wounds. They demonstrate bravery in conquering the dungeon and celebrating afterward, though Chi-Yul worries about Jin-Woo's frequent injuries. While collecting loot, they discover a secret passage to another dungeon, sparking excitement. Chi-Yul reminds them to wait for directions from the Hunters Association, but Kim suggests breaking the rules for more treasure, causing a disagreement among the group. Jin-Woo ponders his responsibility to support his family, ultimately deciding to enter the tunnel. Meanwhile, officials evaluate the new hunters to determine their rankings. Guildmaster Choi recruits promising newbies to bolster the Hunter Guild's ranks due to the need for more members. Meanwhile, a famous S-rank hunter named Cha Hai-in thwarts 2 thieves and retrieves a bag belonging to an innocent civilian. She then swiftly departs afterwards. Inside the dungeon, the hunters venture into a tunnel, causing Jo-hee to worry about Jin-Woo's safety given his past brush with death. Jin-Woo expresses gratitude to Jo-hee and agrees to share a meal together, feeling a bit anxious. They encounter a doorway they believe leads to the boss, but finds a room filled with statues instead. One statue stands out as notably larger. They discover an old tablet outlining the temple rules, warning of dire consequences for disobedience. Jo-hee's concern about the large statue heightens their unease as the door closes. A hunter attempts to flee but is killed, instilling despair. Jin-Woo realizes the statues are unusually powerful for the dungeon and advises everyone to hide, sensing imminent danger. When a statue unleashes a powerful beam, they recognize the severity of the threat to their lives. Chi-Yul advises everyone to remain still to avoid angering the statue. Chi-Yul asks Jin-Woo for help with his injury, which Jin-Woo swiftly tends to. Reflecting on Jo-hee's preferences for easier tasks, Jin-Woo understands her aversion to pressure. Chi-Yul, experienced in tougher dungeons, is surprised by the statue's strength, likening it to those from more challenging dungeons. Jin-Woo ponders if the statue might be likened to a god, recalling the tablet's instructions. Despite Chi-Yul's suggestion to stay put, another hunter's defiance leads to his immediate demise. Jin-Woo discovers the first rule is to worship, deciding they should try facing the statue despite Chi-Yul's apprehension. They bow to the statue, hoping for mercy, but tension mounts when the statue smiles. Park is attacked, prompting Jin-Woo to realize the statues only harm those with weapons. He instructs everyone to activate the friendly statues. They are relieved when they spare them. Jin-Woo rushes to activate the last statue, risking injury, but it begins to sing, pacifying the large statue. They have followed the second rule. Jo-hee attempts to help Jin-Woo's injured leg, but her efforts are in vain. They mourn their fallen comrades, leading to contention among the group. Kim blames Chi-yul, the group's leader, for the losses. In the midst of blame, Chi-yul steps up, taking responsibility for the mistake. An altar appears, and Jin-Woo explains they need strong belief for the third rule. Kim suggests sacrificing someone, proposing to Chi-yul, who hesitates. As Chi-yul approaches, the altar ignites, perplexing everyone. Jin-Woo seeks help to reach the altar, wanting to investigate. Flames engulf them, raising concerns about the dungeon's integrity and potential monster invasion. Jin-Woo insists they activate the altar despite the blue fire. Panic ensues as the statues stare at them, but Jin-Woo commands them with a steely gaze. A panicked person flees, causing more chaos. They puzzle over the commandment, fearing it is a trap. Jin-Woo speculates the blue fire is a timer, urging them to endure. Kim's departure underscores the seriousness. Jin-Woo instructs Ju-hee and Chi-yul to leave due to his physical limitations. Jin-Woo entrusts Ju-hee with an essence stone and bids them farewell. Initially reluctant to leave Jin-Woo, Ju-hee is surprised when Chi-yul leads her away. Facing grim odds, Jin-Woo braces for battle, but is attacked by the stone figures, losing his arm. He struggles, but collapses on the altar, resigned to death. As the countdown ends, a system message offers him a chance to become a player. Upon waking up in the hospital, Jin-Woo discovers his body has fully recovered. Woo Jin-chul informs him of his 3-day unconsciousness and inquires about Ju-hee and Chi-yul. Jin-chul reports their survival, but mentions Chi-yul's injury may hinder his hunting ability, and Ju-hee requires medical assistance before returning to raids. The White Tiger Guild, upon hearing of survivors, rushed to the dungeon but found no statues, only Jin-Woo lying there, surprising them. Jin-chul speculates Jin-Woo's survival indicates hidden strength, yet testing reveals his magical strength is ordinary, disappointing them. Jin-Woo notices a screen in his room visible only to him and learns it is a game-like system. Accepting a daily task for a simple workout, he opts to rest instead due to his hospitalization. Jin-chul informs Chairman Go that Jin-Woo did not gain strength as presumed, prompting investigation into his dungeon experience. Choi selects Cha to lead a B-rank raid as practice, despite Cha's doubts about her suitability. Choi discusses the Hunters Guild's significance nationally, but acknowledges its inferiority to top guilds globally, stressing the need for hunters to improve combat skills to climb ranks. Jin-Woo wakes abruptly after failing a task from the system, finding himself in a vast desert with a daunting challenge. Survive against a colossal centipede for 4 hours. Overwhelmed, he flees from the creature but is pursued by more centipedes, exhausting himself until the task ends, returning him to the hospital where he collapses from the penalty task. Meanwhile, Ju-hee declines joining a low-level raid due to lingering feelings. Upon learning of Jin-Woo's hospitalization, she decides to visit him. Listening to nurses discussing Jin-Woo's intense training despite his injuries, Ju-hee gains insight into his dedication. Jin-Woo explains how daily tasks aid his improvement and skill acquisition, likened to a game. Discovering a key in a random box, he gains access to a mysterious subway dungeon, reflecting on his family's struggles and his journey from a construction worker to a hunter. In the dungeon, facing goblins and a formidable wolf without a healer, Jin-Woo confronts the fear of death. In the dungeon, Jin-Woo faces off against a powerful wolf, feeling surprisingly agile. He lands a solid punch, staggering the wolf, but it retaliates fiercely. Weaponless, he recalls a magic sword in his inventory, borrowed from Kim, using it to defeat the wolf. Astonished by the sword's presence and his healed wounds, Jin-Woo faces 2 more wolves, overcoming them with strategic maneuvers. Resting, he levels up, realizing combat yields more experience than quests. Selling an item for gold, he considers the shop's usefulness in the dungeon. Uncertain about leaving without a teleport stone, he opts to level up further by battling wolves. Despite his sword aging, Jin-Woo focuses on improving his skills and defeating monsters, noting their strength indicated by name colors, red for stronger and white for weaker foes. As Jin-Woo progresses, he notices the wolves' names changing to white, indicating they are less dangerous. Despite his uncertainty, he decides to confront the boss. In a swamp, a creature charges at him, breaking his sword upon impact. Facing a massive snake with tough skin, Jin-Woo struggles to find a way to defeat it. Dodging its attacks, he fights with determination, eventually overpowering and defeating it. He receives a powerful dagger and snake venom as a reward, aware of its benefits and drawbacks. Exiting the subway, he finds the city in ruins due to a dungeon breach. Jin-Woo aids Ju-hee, still grappling with trauma, in defeating a weak boss. Other hunters witness his help and acknowledge his impact before he leaves. Jin-Woo continues his workout routine at the hospital, impressing a nurse with his rapid progress. Meanwhile, a renowned hunter named Beck shares his rigorous training journey on TV. Jin-Woo's sister, Jin-ha, notices his physical transformation due to his workouts. Before heading to school, Jin-Woo gives her an umbrella. Considering his daily quest, Jin-Woo ponders on his increased strength and contemplates focusing on agility and awareness. He assures his landlord of timely rent payments, planning to earn more from dungeon raids. Preferring to keep a low profile, Jin-Woo opts for smaller jobs despite lucrative offers for higher ranks. He meets another hunter, Hwang Dong-suk, who offers him a well-paying task in a dungeon. Surprised by the absence of a healer in their group, Jin-Woo signs a contract, noting its disclaimer regarding injuries. Yu Jin-ho, another hunter, joins them, intrigued by Jin-Woo's equipment and background. As they prepare for the dungeon, Jin-Woo explains the significance of magical strength over gate size and follows Q-Hwan, a mage, who illuminates their path through the dark dungeon, resembling a temple without any monsters. As they progress through the dungeon, they prepare for an impending monster attack, wary of the numerous openings around them. Jin-Woo alerts them to an impending ant attack from above, prompting them to ready themselves for battle. Despite their victory, Jin-Woo finds the encounter lacking in excitement. Dong-suk queries Jin-Woo's foresight regarding the ant attack, to which Jin-Woo attributes it to intuition. Q-Hwan speculates about a potential larger threat due to the ant's behavior. Jin-ho celebrates his first kill, attributing it to his pricey equipment, but Jin-Woo cautions him about potential challenges ahead, especially within their guild. Meanwhile, other hunters at the gym are unfazed by Beck's intense training regimen, considering it standard practice. Jin-Woo begins to suspect hidden motives within Dong-suk's group, particularly their lack of a healer despite their cohesion. Discovering injured ants, they anticipate the presence of a boss nearby. Upon reaching an area abundant with mana crystals, they anticipate treasure. However, a conflict arises regarding the ownership of the crystals as per Jin-Woo's contract terms. Dong-suk suggests acquiring mining tools, but they realize they lack them. Dong-suk then traps them with Q-Hwan's magic, revealing their deception. Facing a looming spider boss, Jin-Woo instructs Jin-ho to stand back while he confronts the creature. Dong-suk's associate questions why they are using the spider to dispose of Jin-Woo and Jin-ho. Dong-suk cautions them to avoid rousing the spider, assuming it will return to rest after consuming them. He plans for Jin-Woo and Jin-ho's demise, confident in a hidden escape route from the cave. Despite Jin-Woo's low rank, he believes he can defeat the spider and charges at it swiftly, surprising Jin-ho. Meanwhile, Chairman Go Gun-hee expresses fatigue from his meetings to Jin-chul, who suggests sparring for relaxation. Despite Gun-hee's age, he easily defeats Jin-chul, showcasing his strength. Impressed, Gun-hee advises Jin-chul to continue training to ensure his safety in perilous situations. In Jin-Woo's battle against the spider, fatigue hampers his movements. He intends to utilize his dagger's special abilities to target the spider's weak point. Despite exhaustion, he narrowly avoids the spider's final assault and emerges victorious. Witnessing Jin-Woo's prowess, Jin-ho begins mining crystals, unaware of Dong-suk's group approaching. Dong-suk mistakes Jin-ho's actions as victory and orders his group to attack him, but Jin-ho refuses to yield. Jin-Woo receives a message instructing him to eliminate Dong-suk's group, catching him off guard. Kyuhwan aggravates the situation by attacking Jin-Woo. Meanwhile, Hunter Gina learns about Cha's exceptional monster-slaying skills in an A-rank dungeon. The girl reflects on the advantages of belonging to large guilds and mentions a rumor about frequent teenage deaths. In the dungeon, everyone assumes Jin-Woo is dead, but he is alive, contemplating the survival of the fittest. Determined to prove himself, he challenges them, instilling fear. Despite being taunted for his low rank, Jin-Woo swiftly defeats Dong-suk's friend, shocking everyone. He systematically overcomes Dong-suk's group, and when Kyuhwan attacks, Jin-Woo vanishes and defeats him effortlessly. Dong-suk attempts resistance, but Jin-Woo's strength prevails. Despite Dong-suk's pleas and offers of crystals, Jin-Woo disregards them, ending Dong-suk's life and completing the urgent quest. They narrowly escape the collapsing dungeon, and Jin-Woo gains a new skill, murderous intent, instilling fear in enemies. The official credits Jin-ho for defeating the boss, but Jin-ho acknowledges Jin-Woo's role in saving him. Manager Woo Jin-chul receives a report about the incident involving Jin-Woo, but doubts its accuracy due to Jin-Woo's involvement. Reviewing the file, he discovers that Dong-suk, a famous hunter's brother, was part of the group. Jin-Woo returns home, greeted warmly by Jin-ha, who appreciates the food he brought. While Jin-ha inquires about his day, Jin-Woo's mind is preoccupied with thoughts about the raid and whether he made the right choices. However, Jin-ha's presence grounds him, refocusing him on his family's safety. While enjoying a beer, Jin-Woo receives a message about a debuff, which disappears on its own. He realizes he cannot get drunk and discovers a reward from a quest that enhances his healing and immunity to negative effects. Jin-ho contacts Jin-Woo, proposing he leads a team, but Jin-Woo declines, preferring to pursue his own path. Jin-ho reveals his aspiration to become a guildmaster and offers a deal. Help with 19 more raids, and they will receive a building for their guild. Jin-Woo considers the offer, but decides he can achieve his goals independently. In America, Dong-suk's brother, Hwang Dong-soo, learns about the incident involving his brother and vows to set things right. Despite his desire to return to Korea immediately, his current commitments force him to delay. He hopes Jin-Woo and the others remain safe until he can address the situation in person. Jin-Woo goes running with his sister, contemplating what she would do with a hypothetical 30 billion won, but she dismisses it as improbable. Starting his daily task, Jin-Woo exceeds his expectations and unlocks a secret task, offering a special loot box. Surprised, he discovers the loot box transforms into another key leading to the demon's fortress, an S-ranked challenge. Concerned about the difficulty, Jin-Woo prepares with a teleportation stone. Facing a Cerberus at the entrance, Jin-Woo realizes he needs to become stronger. Despite initial setbacks, Jin-Woo taps into his immunity to negative effects, persevering until he defeats the Cerberus. Leveling up, he gains another key and a potion recipe, resolving to become even stronger before venturing into the demon's castle for his reward. Jin-Woo meets Jin-ho and agrees to join raids under the condition that he can explore dungeons alone. Jin-ho is surprised, as 8 people are needed for C-rank dungeons. Jin-Woo suggests hiring more members to meet the requirement, assuring safety in their dungeon runs. Jin-ho's father, Yu Myung-han, impressed by Jin-Woo's proposal, discusses the importance of hunters in the changing world due to dungeons and expresses his desire to start a guild for the benefit of all. Completing his daily task, Jin-Woo hopes for something to enhance his strength but receives only a bingo card from a regular loot box, disappointing him. Frustrated with the routine, he considers battling monsters directly for improvement. Meanwhile, Song Chi-yul, despite losing an arm, remains dedicated to helping society and resists pressure from his family to retire. Jin-chul discusses guild plans with Beck, who is upset about a previous interview and learns about Yu Myung-han's intentions. Jo-hee reassures her worried mother about her hunting career, but faces uncertainties about her abilities. Later, she receives an emergency call. Cha Hai-in informs Jin-chul of her decision to decline the guildmaster offer. Choi reminisces about a failed raid and seeks Beck's assistance in recruiting allies, believing Beck shares his sentiments about their lost comrades. Chi-yul ponders his mismatched magic abilities and swordsmanship skills while encountering Jin-Woo, whose healed leg is attributed to a potent healer. They rendezvous with Joo-hee, Kim Sung-shik, and Kang Jong-ho from a previous raid. Joo-hee expresses relief at Jin-Woo's recovery. However, their plans are disrupted when 3 convicts arrive, assigned by the association to aid in dungeon clearance. Kang Taishik, an experienced hunter, cautions them to behave. Jin-Woo distrusts the convicts and advises Joo-hee against joining them, but she insists. Jin-Woo appoints Chi-yul as the leader, acknowledging his past assistance and entrusting him with leadership. They are attacked by hobgoblins, but the convicts easily defeat them. Chi-yul wonders if the convicts are the real monsters. Jin-Woo quickly gets rid of the hobgoblins, making Chi-yul curious about where his dagger came from. Joo-hee is amazed that Jin-Woo does not need healing anymore, noticing how much he has changed. They come to a crossroads, and Taishik suggests splitting up. He sends the convicts down one path, telling them to meet at the boss's room. Using Jin-Woo's sharp senses, they figure out the path to the boss. Jin-Woo sends Chi-yul to the left, while Sang-shik and Jong-ho go down the middle. Jin-Woo notices Taishik watching them closely. Sang-shik meets a goblin, relieved that it is weak. Jong-ho hopes the journey will be easy, thinking Jin-Woo makes everything simpler. Sang-shik remembers leaving Jin-Woo behind before and plans to apologize later. Meanwhile, the convicts are bored because the goblins are not a challenge. In a flashback, Taishik talks to a man who wants revenge on the 3 convicts for his daughter's death. He offers Taishik money to kill them in the dungeon where they won't get caught. In the present, Taishik lies and says the convicts died fighting goblins. He is about to question them when Taishik interrupts, saying he knows where the boss is. Taishik deals with Jong-ho and then goes on. Jin-Woo remembers seeing Taishik in the hospital and hopes he won't be recognized. They hear a scream and find the convicts and Jong-ho dead. Joo-hee tries to help, and Chi-yul sees they were killed with blades. Sang-shik knows he might not make it and says goodbye to his family. Taishik watches from above, ready to attack. Jin-Woo stops him, surprising Taishik. Chi-yul starts a fight, even though Taishik is a higher rank. Chi-yul asks Joo-hee for help, even though Taishik does not like mage warriors. They fight, and Taishik underestimates Chi-yul, while Joo-hee's quick healing annoys him. Chi-yul steps up, asserting his swordsmanship superiority, but Taishik's agility overwhelms them. Joo-hee's healing weakens, but Chi-yul's fiery assault interrupts Taishik's certainty of victory. Jin-Woo's unexpected push baffles Taishik, who questions Jin-Woo's identity. Claiming to be a low-level hunter, Jin-Woo's adept defense sparks Taishik's suspicion of a second awakening from the double dungeon. Despite Jin-Woo's doubts about Taishik's motives due to Sung-shik's ordeal, Taishik converses with his employer, agreeing to help but expressing a preference for fighting humans over monsters. Impressed by Jin-Woo's speed, Sang-shik relies on experience to counterattack, enduring Jin-Woo's strikes. Prompted by his system, Jin-Woo accepts a quest to defeat Sung-shik, empowering him to strike faster and poison Kang with his dagger. Sang-shik retaliates stealthily, but Jin-Woo's instant recovery surprises him. Despite slicing Jin-Woo's leg, Sang-shik is amazed by his combat prowess and healing abilities. Jin-Woo's heightened senses overwhelm Sang-shik, who feels threatened by Jin-Woo's killer instinct. Jin-Woo emerges victorious, gaining a new skill, uncertain of his identity, but embracing growth through combat. Jin-chul was surprised that Taishik was involved in the dungeon murders, even though he was suspicious of him. Chi-yul recounts their victory, unsure of Jin-chul's skepticism, but cautious of Jin-Woo's true strength. Jin-Woo realizes he is not immune to Jin-chul's powers, while Chi-yul sees their deception as repayment for Jin-Woo's aid. A lady hunter named Joo-hee says she hasn't changed, but Jin-Woo tells her, "A lot has happened. Experience affects everyone differently." She says she's not sure if she's good enough to be a hunter, and she feels bad that she chose lower-level dungeons when she could have done better ones. She talks about meeting Jin-Woo and healing him over and over again, even though she found his regular injuries annoying but admired his ability to survive. While giving back a crystal, Joo-hee tells Jin-Woo that she plans to quit and move back in with her parents. She also tells Jin-Woo to get in touch with her if he's ever in the area. Woo Jin-chul, on the other hand, tells Jin-Woo to be careful because S-rank shooter Hwang Dong-soo wants to kill him because his brother died. Woo Jin-chul tells Jin-Woo that the government can't do anything about S-rank hunters and tells him to leave the country with his family. But Jin-Woo feels like he needs to get stronger to deal with these risks. Later, Jin-Woo meets Jin-ho, who brings a group of drunk and hurt people to meet the 8-person minimum for raiding a C-rank dungeon. That's all Jin-Woo and Jin-ho will do. Surprisingly, they finish the dungeon in an hour, which is a lot less time than the normal 2 hours. The people watching are amazed at how quickly 2 D-rank and C-rank hunters clear a C-rank cave and agree to go to the next gate for another raid because they can make 9 million rubles a day. Jin-Woo levels up a lot by doing a lot of dungeon raids. He then improves a lot of new skills and gets a message telling him he's hit the level needed for a job change quest. According to Kichul, someone spent 150 million won on C-rank gate rights. Yoo Jin-ho, the youngest son of the Yujin construction owner, was in charge of this person. When manager An sees Sung Jin-Woo's name on the list, he starts to feel suspicious because he knows that Sung Jin-Woo has probably been reborn after surviving several disasters. Manager An knows how valuable Sung Jin-Woo is and tries to get him to join the White Tiger Guild by giving him twice as much money as Yujin Construction. Jin-Woo, however, turns down the deal, saying that the guild can't match it. When manager An finds out that Jin-Woo has been reawakened and is good at being stealthy, he says sorry and agrees to keep Jin-Woo's image low. Jin-Woo wants to tell manager An that they can buy 3 of their C-rank dungeon rights for a total of $400 million. Manager An agrees when he sees how powerful Jin-Woo is. At the same time, Jin-Woo goes off to try to change jobs. As dusk falls, Sung Jin-Woo retreats into the solitude of the woods. Out of the blue, a job change quest pops up in Jin-Woo's system. Wary of the consequences that might arise from summoning the instant dungeon, he reflects on his past experiences with other instant dungeons before deciding to proceed with the job change request. Feeling that it may help him get stronger, he accepts the request, and he is instructed to enter the gate. Abruptly, a vast purple void gate, alive with lightning, appears before him. On the brink of entry, Jin-Woo remembers he forgot to do his daily quest, but he decides it can wait until after. In an elegant dining room, Yoo Myung-han, the chairman of Yujin Construction, leisurely swirls his wine glass while his son, Yoo Jin-ho, sits across the table, filled with nerves. As Myung-han savors a sip of wine, a polite knock interrupts, heralding the entrance of Yoo Jin-sung, the older brother, who offers apologies for his delay. Jin-sung exchanges pleasantries with Jin-ho. Back in the dungeon, Jin-Woo navigates a corridor, and everything appears unexpectedly normal until he receives a notification informing him that in this area, the use of potions, full recovery, and access to the store are prohibited, and he won't be able to recover his stats upon leveling up or leave until the quest is completed. An armored knight then appears, and they had a serious fight, but Jin-Woo defeats him. More beasts then show up. Jin-Woo continues to fight the demons, but he's getting weak. At that moment, Hunter Choi and others prepare to embark on a journey to the island. Jin-Woo at last is able to defeat all of the knights. He then moves towards a gate where he enters a throne room and encounters another demon, a knight named Igris, the Red Blood commander who defends an empty throne. Jin-Woo has a serious fight with the knight, but it seems almost impossible because of his ungodly speed, perception, and agility. Later on, the battle becomes even more fierce, and at the brink of death, unbelievably to Jin-Woo, he is able to defeat the knight and he becomes stronger. Just at the same point, he receives a teleportation stone. Suddenly, he hears a startling noise and many enemies appear before him. Jin-Woo, exhausted by the never-ending battle, sees a vision of his former self. In order to overcome the past that was called the weakest hunter of all mankind, and to aim for a stronger version of himself, he searches for clues to conquer the job change quest. Jin-Woo finds himself thrown across the throne room and hitting a pillar hard. Surrounded by endless nights and without his teleportation stone, he is desperate and pushed to his physical limits. With no mana left for his skills and his fatigue peaking, Jin-Woo fights back with everything he has left, using just his bare hands. Running out of stamina, covered in sweat, and his hands cut and bloodied, he doesn't give up. He defeats enemy after enemy, but is seemingly overwhelmed. Haunted by memories of being called the weakest hunter of all mankind, Jin-Woo hears the mocking words of his past comrades, Kim Sung-shik and Park Byum-shik, as if they were right there with him. This haunting vision of his former self confronts him, criticizing his efforts and urging him to accept that he's reached his limit. In the chairman's office of the Korean Hunters Association, Go Gun-hee and Woo Jin-chul reflect on the tragic events of the third Jeju Island raid. On his table are the plans for the fourth. Gun-hee, with a sense of regret, acknowledges that his physical condition prevented him from participating in the raid, while Woo confirms he was part of the operation, handling perimeter security and communications. Back in the dungeon, Jin-Woo is haunted by his past self, who taunts him, dismissing his physical changes, insisting that deep down, he remains as weak as ever. As Jin-Woo is overpowered once more, his defiance flares. But his comeback is cut short as he collides with another knight, forcefully smashing his face into the ground. Through his fading consciousness, Jin-Woo hears the mocking echo of his past self, belittling his desperate efforts. As a knight looms over him, ready to deliver the final blow, the daily quest he forgot to complete expires, and Jin-Woo finds himself transported to the penalty zone. He appears in a vast desert under a blazing sun, surrounded by red clouds and endless sand. Licking his wounds and pondering his fate, Jin-Woo questions whether luck or the system itself intervened to save him. Choosing not to dwell on it, Jin-Woo accesses the store and is able to purchase mana potions, restoring his fatigue, which has skyrocketed past 90 for the first time. While the potions alleviate his fatigue, he realizes that health potions can't heal him due to his serious injuries. He's abruptly confronted by 6 enormous desert centipedes bursting from the sands. These foes, though formidable, no longer pose the threat they once did at his current level. Jin-Woo confronts the colossal centipedes with renewed resolve. Back in Jin-Woo's apartment, his sister Gina is stirred from her slumber by an unsettling dream. After using the bathroom, she notices the dinner she prepared for Jin-Woo, still untouched on the table, and wonders where he is at this late hour. This leads her to ponder whether he is still working late, or amusingly, if he might have a girlfriend. Snuggling back into her bed, Gina harbors a simple wish, for her brother to return in time for the upcoming guardian teacher meeting at her school that day. At last, Jin-Woo defeats all the giant centipedes, and he receives a night killer holding runestone from his fight with Igris. He then returns to the dungeon where innumerable beasts await him. Jin-Woo keeps killing the beasts, but he senses something weird, plus there's no sign of him leveling up. Then he realizes the knights are only summoned by the mages as weapons to attack him through their spells. He then decides to target the mages instead of the knights. As he kills the mages, the knights automatically die. Unexpectedly, a huge golem appears, but Jin-Woo strategically destroys it. Up next on his system, he receives that wherever he goes, the Angel of Death will follow him. In addition, he craves great power and blazed his own trail without relying on others. Now his new job class is Necromancer, and that gets him worked up. Necromancers are usually a magic-type class that summons undead monsters as servants. Jin-Woo rejects the class, but is notified that it's a hidden class. He ponders over this, and it comes to his mind that he will level up with this new class and won't be solo leveling anymore, so he accepts. Jin-Woo gets a title as Shadow Monarch. He got a new skill known as Shadow Extraction and is asked to designate a command word. He says, "Arise." The dead knights arise as shadow soldiers. Seeing that, he decides to awaken Igris, but he fails twice. Jin-Woo then requests that Igris serve him instead of defending the throne. He commands him to arise again, and there is lightning and an explosion. Igris rises up and bows to Jin-Woo alongside with other shadow soldiers. Jin-Woo just smiles.